I hadn't heard my daughter's voice in 3 years until a lawyer called me instead. "Mrs. Morris," he said carefully, "your daughter Olivia needs your signature today, or she loses her home." I nearly dropped the phone. 3 years of silence. 3 years of unanswered calls, birthdays ignored, holidays spent staring at an empty chair. And now she needed me, not to talk, not to apologize, to sign. And somehow my name was still tied to a house I didn't even know she owned. I should have said no. But something in his voice told me this wasn't just about a house. If you've ever been hurt by someone you love, you'll understand what I'm about to go through. Before I continue, let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it for you right now? And tell me, honestly, would you sign after 3 years of silence? Don't forget to like and subscribe, because this story only gets harder from here. I used to believe there was nothing in this world strong enough to come between a mother and her daughter. Not distance, not time, not even grief. I was wrong. I raised Olivia Morris alone. Her father, Michael, died when she was just 6 years old. A sudden heart attack on a cold November morning. One minute he was laughing over coffee, the next he was gone, just like that, and it was just the two of us. I remember standing in that hospital hallway holding Olivia's tiny hand while she asked me, "Is Daddy coming home?" I lied. I told her yes because I didn't have the strength to say no. From that day on, I made a promise to myself. She would never feel alone again. I worked 2 jobs for years, mornings at a local diner, nights doing bookkeeping for a small insurance office. I barely slept. Some nights I would sit at the kitchen table long after Olivia went to bed, staring at unpaid bills, wondering how I was going to make it through another month. But every time she smiled, it felt worth it. Olivia was a bright child, gentle, thoughtful. She had this way of noticing things other people missed. If I looked tired, she'd bring me a glass of water without saying a word. If I skipped dinner, she'd pretend she wasn't hungry either, so I wouldn't feel guilty. We weren't just mother and daughter. We were a team. Every Friday night, no matter how exhausted I was, we had what we called our night. Cheap takeout old movies, and her head resting on my shoulder. She would tell me everything, school drama dreams, fears, even the silly little crushes she swore she didn't have. And I listened. I always listened. When she got into Ohio State, I cried harder than she did. Not because I was sad, but because I knew I had done something right. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom," she told me that day. Those words stayed with me for years, even after everything fell apart. Back then, I truly believed nothing could break us. Not even when she started changing. At first, it was subtle. A missed call here, a shorter conversation there. I told myself it was normal. She was growing up, becoming independent. That's what I had raised her to do after all. But something felt off. She stopped telling me things, important things. When she got her first serious job, I found out through a Facebook post. When she moved apartments, she mentioned it casually weeks later, like it wasn't a big deal. I tried not to take it personally. "Don't be that mother," I told myself. "Give her space." But space slowly turned into distance, and distance turned into silence. Still, there were moments when I saw my little girl again. Like the time she showed up unannounced on my birthday with a cake she had baked herself, burnt edges and all. She laughed when I teased her about it the same way she used to when she was 10. For a second, everything felt normal again. Like we hadn't changed. Like we never would. But then came the night she told me about him. We were sitting in my living room. She kept fidgeting with her hands, something she only did when she was nervous. "There's someone I want you to meet," she said. I remember smiling, really smiling, because for the first time in months, she was opening up to me again. "What's his name?" I asked. "Daniel," she said. Daniel Harper. I remember smiling, really smiling, because for the first time in months, she was opening up to me again. "What's his name?" I asked. "Daniel," she said. "Daniel Harper." There was something in her voice when she said his name, something I couldn't quite place. Pride, maybe, or fear. I ignored it, because I wanted to be happy for her, because I needed to believe that whatever distance had grown between us could still be repaired. I asked the usual questions: what he did, where they met, how long they'd been together. She answered everything, but not the way she used to. Her words were careful, measured, almost rehearsed. That was the first time I felt it. That quiet, uncomfortable feeling in my chest, like something wasn't right. But I pushed it aside, because I trusted her, because she was my daughter, and because after everything we had been through, I couldn't imagine that the beginning of the end would sound so normal. If I had known then what I know now, I would have asked more questions. I would have looked closer. I would have listened to that instinct screaming inside me. But I didn't. And that mistake, it cost me 3 years of silence. I met Daniel Harper 2 weeks later, and I remember thinking, I should have trusted my instincts sooner. He opened the door before Olivia even got there. That was the first thing I noticed. Tall, well-dressed, perfect posture. The kind of man who looked like he belonged in a magazine spread about success. "Mrs. Morris," he said, offering a firm handshake. "I've heard so much about you." His smile was practiced. Polite, but not warm. I forced myself to smile back. "All good things, I hope." "Of course," he said smoothly. "Olivia speaks very highly of you." But when I glanced past him, I saw Olivia standing in the hallway. She wasn't smiling. That stuck with me. We sat down for dinner, something Olivia had insisted on. She had cooked, though I noticed Daniel kept stepping in, adjusting things, correcting her. "Too much salt," he said casually, taking the spoon from her hand. She laughed it off, but it wasn't her real laugh. I knew my daughter's laugh, and that wasn't it. We sat at the table, and for the first time in years, I felt like a guest in my own child's life. Daniel led the conversation. Every time I asked Olivia a question, he answered first. "So, how's work going?" I asked her. It's been great," Daniel cut in. "She's doing really well. I've actually been helping her think about some bigger opportunities." I blinked. Helping her think Olivia used to be the most independent person I knew. "I'm glad to hear that," I said, carefully turning back to her. "Are you happy, honey?" There was a pause. Just a second, but I saw it. That hesitation. "Of course," she said quickly. "I'm really happy." Daniel smiled, placing his hand over hers, and she went quiet. The rest of the evening felt controlled, like everything had to pass through him first. When Olivia got up to get dessert, I finally had a moment alone with him. I leaned forward slightly. "Daniel," I said, keeping my voice calm, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, folding his hands neatly on the table. "What are your intentions with my daughter, Daniel?" I said, keeping my voice calm. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, folding his hands neatly on the table. "What are your intentions with my daughter?" He didn't even blink. "I intend to build a life with her," he said, "a stable one, something structured." Structured? It was a strange word to use. "She's had enough instability." He continued, his tone soft but deliberate. "I think you'd agree with that." There it was, a subtle jab, wrapped in politeness. I straightened slightly. "Olivia has always done just fine." I'm sure she has, he said. But everyone benefits from the right kind of guidance. Guidance, not partnership. Guidance. I didn't like that, not one bit. Olivia came back just then carrying a pie, and just like that, the moment was gone. But the feeling stayed. After dinner, I helped her in the kitchen. For a brief second, it was just the two of us again. You okay? I whispered. She hesitated, then nodded too quickly. Yeah, I am good. You can tell me if something's wrong. I said I'm fine, Mom. Her tone wasn't harsh, but it was closed, shut down, like a door I used to walk through freely had been locked. Daniel's voice came from the living room. Olivia, am coming? She called back immediately. Immediately. She dried her hands and walked past me. Didn't meet my eyes. Didn't say another word. That was the moment I realized something had changed. Not slowly, not naturally, but deliberately. Over the next few months, I saw less and less of her. Every visit felt shorter. Every conversation felt filtered. I started noticing patterns. She never answered calls when she was with him. If I called in the evening, it went straight to voicemail. If she did call back, it was always brief. Rushed. Like she was on a timer. Hey, Mom, I can't talk long. Everything okay, I would ask? Yeah, just busy. Always busy. Always just a little too distracted. Then one night, I called her unexpectedly around 9 p.m. She picked up, and for the first time, she sounded like herself. Mom, she said, a little breathless. Hey, honey, you okay? Yeah, a pause. Then I heard a door close, like she had stepped outside. I miss you, she whispered. My heart nearly stopped. I miss you too, I said quickly. You know you can come over any time, right? I know. Things have been a lot lately. What kind of things? She hesitated, and I held my breath. Because I knew if she spoke, if she told me the truth, maybe I could fix it. Maybe I could help her. But then I heard it. A voice in the background. Daniel's voice. Olivia! Her entire tone changed, instantly. I have to go, she said quickly. Wait. Liv. I'll call you later. She hung up. She never called back. That was the moment I stopped ignoring my instincts. Something wasn't right. Something was very, very wrong. And whatever it was, Daniel Harper was at the center of it. I just didn't know how deep it went yet. After Olivia married Daniel, everything changed. Not all at once. That would have been easier to fight. No, it happened slowly, quietly. Like something slipping through your fingers before you even realize you've lost it. At first, she just called less. Hey, Mom, I'm sorry work's been crazy, she would say. I believed her, because I wanted to. Then the visits stopped. Maybe next weekend she'd promise. Next weekend never came. I started noticing something else too. Every time I called, Daniel was there. Not Physica, I called, Daniel was there. Not Physica, lie but present. In the background, in her tone, in the way she spoke. One evening, I called her around dinner time. She picked up after the third ring. Hey, Mom, she said quickly. Hi, honey. What are you up to? A pause. Then justly but present, in the background, in her tone, in the way she spoke. One evening, I called her around dinner time. She picked up after the third ring. Hey, Mom, she said quickly. Hi, honey. What are you up to? A pause. Then, just making dinner. I could hear movement, dishes, but also something else, silence. Like someone was listening. Sounds nice, I said. What are you making? Before she could answer, I heard it. His voice. Tell her it's chicken. Not even quiet. Not even trying to hide it. Olivia cleared her throat. Chicken. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Can I talk to you for a minute? I asked. Another pause. I'm kind of busy right now, Mom. Busy. She used to talk to me for hours while cooking. Just a minute, I said softly. I heard a slight rustling, like she was covering the phone. Then a muffled conversation. Too quiet to understand. When she came back, her voice had changed. I really have to go, she said. I'll call you later. Olivia click. She hung up. She never called back. That became a pattern. Every time we spoke, it felt like she was asking permission without saying the words, like someone was always there, watching, listening, controlling. I tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself I was overthinking. But then came the finances. That was when I knew something was wrong. Olivia had always been careful with money. She learned that from me. Every dollar mattered when you grew up the way we did. But suddenly, things didn't add up. She started talking about investments. Daniel says it's a good opportunity, she mentioned once. Daniel thinks we should move our money around, Daniel says. Daniel thinks... I barely heard I anymore. Then one afternoon, I got a notification from the bank. At first, I thought it was a mistake. It had to be, because it was about a property I hadn't touched in years. A small house I had co-signed for Olivia when she first started working. My name was still on it, just as a safety net, something to help her build credit. She had promised she'd refinance it later. She never did, and now it had been sold. I drove straight to her house. No call, no warning. I needed answers. When she opened the door, she looked surprised. Mom. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you, I said, stepping inside. Daniel was in the living room. Of course he was. He stood up slowly like he had been expecting something. Is everything all right? He asked calmly. I turned to Olivia. Why didn't you tell me you sold the house? Her face went pale. I was going to, when I cut in, after everything was already done. It wasn't a big deal, Daniel stepped in smoothly. It was a strategic decision. Strategic. Like we were talking about stocks, not my daughter's life. It had my name on it, I said sharply. And we handled everything legally, he replied. There was no issue. No issue. I looked at Olivia. Is that true? She hesitated, then nodded. I trusted him, she said quietly. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Not we decided, not I chose. I trusted him. What did you do with the money, I asked. Daniel answered before she could. We reinvested it into a better property, something with more potential. Where, I asked. Out of state, he said. A much better market. Everything he said sounded rehearsed, polished, too perfect. I turned back to Olivia. Why didn't you tell me? I asked softly this time, because that was the real question. Not the house, not the money. Her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Guilt. I didn't want you to worry, she said. I'm your mother, I whispered. That's my job. Daniel let out a quiet breath like he was losing patience. Jacqueline, guilt. I didn't want you to worry, she said. I'm your mother, I whispered. That's my job. Daniel let out a quiet breath like he was losing patience. Jacqueline, he said, his tone firm now. With all due respect, Olivia is an adult. She doesn't need to run every decision by you. There it was again. That subtle push, that separation. I looked him straight in the eye. She doesn't, I said, but she doesn't hide things from me either. Olivia stepped between us. Can we not do this right now? She said quickly. Then when I asked, she didn't answer, because she didn't have one. That was the day I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just losing my daughter. I was being removed, piece by piece, decision by decision, until there was nothing left of us. And the worst part? She was letting it happen. I wish I could say I handled everything calmly after that day, that I went home, sat down, and thought things through like a rational person. I didn't. I drove back in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached, because something inside me had shifted. It wasn't just concern anymore. It was fear, not for myself, for Olivia. That night, I pulled out every document I had related to that house. Old contracts, bank statements, copies of the co-sign agreement. I spread them across my kitchen table like pieces of a puzzle, and slowly something didn't add up. The numbers were off. The timeline didn't make sense. The sale price Olivia had mentioned casually didn't match what I was seeing in the records. I checked it again. Then again. Same result. They had sold the house for less than market value, significantly less. Why would she do that? I whispered to myself. Olivia wasn't careless. She wasn't naive. Not like that. Unless she hadn't been the one making the decision. I felt that cold feeling again. The same one I had when I first met Daniel. I picked up my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then left a message. Olivia, it's me. I need you to call me back. It's important. Please. I hung up and waited. She didn't call. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the county records office. I needed the truth, not explanations, not carefully chosen words, facts. I requested the full file on the property. The woman behind the counter handed me the documents without much interest. But for me, it felt like opening a door I wasn't ready to walk through. I sat down at one of the tables and started reading, line by line, page by page. At first, everything looked normal. Standard sale agreement, transfer of ownership, nothing unusual. Until I reached the section about the new property, the one Daniel had mentioned. My name was there. Still. But something was different. There was a clause I didn't recognize. A clause that allowed refinancing under certain conditions, without requiring direct consent at every stage. My heart started pounding. No, I whispered. I kept reading, and then I saw it. A loan, a large one, taken out against the new property. The property that had my name on it. My signature was there, but I didn't remember signing anything like this. I stared at the page, my hands shaking. How is this possible? I said out loud. I flipped through those documents again, searching for anything I might have missed. Then I found the date. 3 months after the house sale. That was the same time Olivia had stopped calling as often. The same time Daniel had started appearing in every conversation. The same time everything started to change. I leaned back in my chair, trying to steady my breathing. Either I had signed something without understanding it, or someone had made sure I didn't fully know what I was signing. Neither option felt right, but one of them felt worse. I called the number listed for the loan officer, a man named Richard Collins. He answered on the third ring. Collins. Financial. This is Richard. My name is Jacqueline Morris, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. I'm calling about a property loan under my name. There was a pause. Then, yes, Mrs. Morris. How can I help you? I need you to explain something to me, I said, because I don't remember agreeing to any refinancing. Another pause, longer this time. Well, he said carefully, according to our records, all documents were signed and processed correctly. I want copies of everything I said immediately. You should already have. I don't, I cut in, and I want them. He hesitated. Then I can email them to you. Do that. I hung up before he could say anything else. My hands were still shaking, because deep down, I already knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a simple mistake. This was something bigger, something intentional. And for the first time, I allowed myself to think the thought I had been avoiding. What if Daniel hadn't just influenced Olivia? What if he had been using her, using both of us? By the time I got home, the documents were already in my inbox. I opened them immediately, and there it was, every signature, every agreement, every line I should have read more carefully. But one thing stood out. The signatures weren't forged. They were real. Mine. But the context, the explanation, the understanding behind them, that had been manipulated, carefully, strategically. I felt sick, because that meant one thing. Daniel hadn't tricked me once. He had built this slowly, piece by piece, using trust, using family, using Olivia, and she had been right there in the middle of it, whether she knew it or not. I closed my laptop slowly, because now the question wasn't just what had happened, it was how far it had gone, and how much damage had already been done. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. I kept replaying everything in my head, every conversation, every document, every moment where something felt off, and I ignored it. By morning, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to sit back and wait anymore. I was going to confront Olivia. Not gently, not carefully, but honestly, because whatever was happening had already gone too far. I called her again. Voicemail. I didn't leave a message this time. Instead, I got in my car, and I drove straight to her house. When I knocked, it took longer than usual for the door to open. Too long. When Olivia finally opened it, she looked startled and tired. Dark circles under her eyes, her hair pulled back like she hadn't cared how she looked. "Mom," she said, "what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," I said, stepping inside before she could answer. She closed the door behind me slowly. Daniel wasn't in the living room this time. That alone made the house feel different, quieter, more real. "Is Daniel here?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "He's out." Out! For the first time, I felt like I could actually talk to my daughter. I turned to face her fully. "Olivia, we need to talk about the house." Her shoulders stiffened immediately. "It's already handled," she said. "There's nothing to worry about." "That's not true," I said firmly. "I've seen the documents." Her face went pale. "What documents? The loan, the refinancing, the clause that allows changes without my direct approval." She didn't say anything, just stared at me, and in that silence I knew. "You didn't know," I said quietly. "It wasn't a question." She swallowed hard. I thought she started, then stopped. "What did you think I pressed?" "That everything was under control," she said. "Daniel said it was just paperwork." Paperwork. That word again. Something simple. Something harmless. Except it wasn't. "Do you have access to the accounts?" I asked. She hesitated. "Olivia." "No," she whispered. My chest tightened. "No," I repeated. "He handles the finances," she said quickly, like she was defending it. It's just easier that way. Easier. For who? Do you know how much is owed on the house? I asked. Silence. Do you know how much he borrowed? More silence. Olivia, do you even know what you signed? Her eyes filled with tears. I trusted him, she said again. The same words, the same blind faith. And it broke something inside me. You trusted him more than you trusted me, I asked, my voice shaking. That's not fair. Isn't it? I cut in. You shut me out. You stopped answering my calls. You let me sit there for 3 years wondering what I did wrong. I didn't. You did, I said. You chose him. Every single time. She flinched, and for a second I felt guilty. But only for a second. Because this wasn't just about hurt feelings anymore. This was about her life, her future. Why didn't you tell me the truth? I asked, softer now. She looked away. Because she couldn't. Because she didn't have an answer. Or maybe because the answer was too painful to say out loud. Look at me, I said gently. Slowly she did. And what I saw in her eyes wasn't defiance. It wasn't anger. It was fear. Real fear. I didn't know how, she whispered. That hit me harder than anything else she had said. What do you mean? I asked. She took a shaky breath. Everything happened so fast, she said. At first it was just small things. He'd say, let me handle this, or, trust me, I know better. And I believed him. I stayed quiet. Let her talk, because this was the first time in years she was actually opening up. Then it got bigger, she continued. Investments, loans, papers I didn't fully understand. But every time I asked questions, he made me feel like I was being difficult. Classic. I had seen this before, not in my own life, but enough to recognize it. That's not your fault, I said. But it is, she snapped suddenly. I should have known. I should have paid attention. Yes, I said honestly. You should have. She looked at me surprised. But that doesn't mean you deserved this, I added. Her expression broke. Tears started falling freely now. I didn't call you because I was ashamed, she admitted. I didn't want you to see how badly I messed up. You didn't mess up, I said firmly. You were manipulated. She shook her head. You don't understand. Then help me understand, I said. There was a long pause, the kind that feels heavy, important. Then she said something that changed everything. He checks my phone. I froze. What? He reads my messages, my emails, everything she said, her voice barely above a whisper. That night you called when I said I missed you. He saw it. My stomach dropped. That's why you stopped talking to me, I said slowly. She nodded. He said you were trying to turn me against him, she said, that you didn't respect our marriage. I let out a slow breath, because now it all made sense. The distance, the silence, the fear. It wasn't just influence, it was control, and Olivia had been living inside it for years. Why didn't you leave? I asked. She let out a hollow laugh. Leave with what she said. I don't have access to the money. I don't even know what accounts exist anymore. I felt anger rise in my chest. Not at her, at him. He did this on purpose, I said. I know, she whispered. And now the house is at risk. She nodded again. If we don't fix it, we lose everything, everything. I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time in 3 years, I saw my daughter again. Not the distant, guarded version, but the scared little girl who used to hold my hand in a hospital hallway. And I knew something. This wasn't the end. This was the moment everything was about to break open. That was the first time in years Olivia didn't try to defend him, and that terrified me more than anything. Because when someone stops defending the person they chose over you, it means something inside them has already broken. We stood there in silence for a moment. Just the two of us. No interruptions. No Daniel. No walls. "Do you feel safe here?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes drifted toward the hallway like she expected him to walk in at any second. Then she whispered, "I don't know anymore." That was enough. That was all I needed to hear. "Pack a bag," I said immediately. She blinked. "What?" "Pack a bag," I repeated. "You're coming with me. I can't just leave," she said quickly, panic creeping into her voice. Hell, what I cut in. What is he going to do? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because she didn't know. Or maybe because she did. "I have to think about this," she said, shaking her head. "I can't just run away." "You're not running," I said. "You're protecting yourself." "And what about the house?" she asked. "The loan? If I leave, everything collapses." Everything. That word again. Like her entire life was tied to something she couldn't control anymore. I stepped closer. "Olivia." "And what about the house?" she asked. "The loan? If I leave, everything collapses." Everything. That word again. Like her entire life was tied to something she couldn't control anymore. I stepped closer. "Olivia," I said gently. "Everything already collapsed. You just haven't allowed yourself to see it yet." Her eyes filled with tears again. "I thought I was building something," she whispered. "A future. Stability." "I know," I said softly. "But he turned it into a trap." She covered her face with her hands, and for the first time since I arrived, she cried. Not quietly, not controlled, but like everything she had been holding in for years finally broke loose. "I didn't want to believe it," she sobbed. Every time something felt wrong, I told myself I was overreacting, that I just needed to trust him more. I didn't interrupt. I just stood there, because sometimes people need to hear themselves say the truth. "I stopped talking to you because he said you were trying to control me," she continued. "And I didn't want to choose between you." "But you did," I said gently. She nodded, tears still falling. "I chose him," she admitted, "and now I don't even recognize my own life." That sentence hit me like a punch to the chest, because I knew exactly how that felt. Losing yourself slowly until one day you look around and everything feels unfamiliar. "Listen to me," I said firmly. "You are not stuck. Not yet." She looked at me uncertain. "He built this on lies," I continued. "That means it can fall apart." "And what if it does?" she asked. "What if we lose everything?" I held her gaze. "Then we start over." She let out a shaky breath. "I'm 35 years old, Mom," she said. "I shouldn't be starting over." I almost smiled. "Life doesn't care how old you are," I said. "It just cares whether you're willing to stand up." She looked down at her hands, quiet again. "I don't even know where to begin," she admitted. "You already did," I said. "You told me the truth." That seemed to settle something in her. Just a little. "Okay," she said slowly. "What do we do?" That question, that simple, fragile question, It meant everything, because it meant she was ready, or at least ready enough. We take this one step at a time, I said. First, I need to know everything. Everything she repeated. Every account, every document, every conversation you can remember. She hesitated again. Not out of fear this time, but out of shame. I don't know if I can remember all of it, she said. You don't have to, I replied. Just start talking. And she did. We sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where just months ago everything had felt so controlled. Now, it felt like a confession room. He started managing my accounts about a year after we got married, she said. At first it made sense. He knew more about investments than I did. I nodded. Then he suggested that I should invest in the stock market, and I did. I nodded. Then he suggested we combine everything, she continued. Savings, income, everything into one place. And you agreed, I said. I thought that's what married couples do, she whispered. They do, I said. But not like this. She gave a small, bitter laugh. No, not like this. She kept going, detail after detail. Small things at first, then bigger ones. Passwords changed, access limited, questions dismissed, arguments turned back on her. You're being paranoid. You don't understand finances. You're lucky I'm handling this. The same pattern, over and over again. Until she stopped asking, stopped questioning, stopped resisting. And the house I asked, finally. Her face tightened. He said it was an opportunity, she said. A bigger investment, something that would secure our future. And the loan, I didn't understand all of it, she admitted. He said your name was still on the property, so it would help us get better terms. Better terms. At what cost? I didn't realize how much he borrowed, she said. Not until recently. How much? I asked. She hesitated, then said the number, and my heart dropped, because it was worse than I thought. Much worse. That's not sustainable, I said immediately. I know, she whispered. That's why he's been different lately. Different? How I asked. He's stressed, she said. Angry, short-tempered. Has he ever hurt you? I asked carefully. She shook her head quickly. No, not physically. But the way she said it, that not physically said everything. I leaned back in my chair, because now the picture was clear. This wasn't just manipulation. It was escalation. And if we didn't act soon, it would only get worse. We're going to fix this, I said firmly. She looked at me. Hope, fear, both at the same time. How? She asked. I took a slow breath, because this was the moment everything shifted. We're going to stop reacting to him, I said, and start getting ahead of him. She frowned slightly. What does that mean? It means we don't sign anything, I said. Not yet. Her eyes widened. But if we don't, I know, I said. The house is at risk. Then why would we wait? Because right now, I said, we don't know the full extent of what he's done. Silence. Then realization. You think there's more, she said slowly. I don't think I replied. I know. I didn't tell Olivia everything I was thinking. Not yet. Because if I was right, if what I suspected was true, then we weren't just dealing with a bad husband or a bad financial decision. We were dealing with something much bigger, something deliberate, something dangerous. Listen to me carefully, I said, lowering my voice. Has Daniel ever rushed you to sign anything? She frowned slightly, thinking. Sometimes, she said slowly. He'd say things like, We don't have time to overthink this. Or, just trust me, it's standard. My jaw tightened. And did you read everything before signing? She hesitated. Not all of it, she admitted. Of course not. That was exactly how this worked. Not force, not threats, just pressure. Just enough to make someone feel like saying no would be unreasonable. I took a slow breath. Olivia, I need you to understand something, I said. What he's been doing, this isn't just control. It's strategy. Her eyes widened slightly. What do you mean? I mean, I said, choosing my words carefully. He didn't just take over your finances by accident. He built a system where you wouldn't question him. She stared at me, silent, processing. And the house, she asked. What about the house? I leaned forward. The house is the leverage, I said. Leverage? Yes. I nodded. It ties everything together. Your finances, my name, the loan. If that falls apart, everything he built starts to unravel. She swallowed hard. So that's why he needs your signature, she said. Exactly. The realization hit her all at once. He's not trying to save the house? She whispered. No, I said, quietly. Hez trying to protect himself. The room went completely still. Because once you see something like that, you can't unsee it. Then what do we do? She asked, her voice shaking now. We slow him down, I said. How? We don't sign anything, I repeated. Not until we know everything. But the lawyer said, I know what the lawyer said. I cut in. And that's exactly why we don't rush. She looked torn, scared. What if we lose the house? She asked. I held her gaze. Then we lose the house, I said. But we don't lose everything else with it. That wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was the truth. And deep down, she knew it. There was a sudden sound outside, a car door slamming. Both of us froze. Olivia's eyes went wide. He's back, she whispered. My heart started pounding. Okay, I said quickly. We stay calm. We don't say anything yet. She nodded, but I could see the panic rising in her. Footsteps. Closer. The door opened. Daniel walked in, and the moment he saw me, everything changed. His expression didn't show surprise or anger. It showed calculation, like he had just walked into a situation and was already figuring out how to control it. Jacqueline, he said smoothly. I didn't expect to see you here. I'm sure you didn't, I replied. He set his keys down slowly. His eyes moved from me to Olivia and back again. Reading the room. Is everything all right? He asked. No one answered, because we both knew nothing was all right. He smiled slightly. That bad, huh? Still calm, still controlled. I think we should talk, I said. I agree, he said immediately. In fact, I was just about to call you. That caught me off guard. Really? Yes, he said. About the paperwork. Of course, the paperwork. Always the paperwork. What about it? I asked. He walked a little closer. Not too close. Just enough to feel present. We're running out of time, he said. The bank is getting impatient. If we don't act soon, the property goes into foreclosure. I watched him carefully. Foreclosure. I watched him carefully. Every word, every movement. And you need my signature, I said. Yes, he nodded. As co-owner, your authorization is required. Interesting, I said. He tilted his head slightly. How so every word? Every movement. And you need my signature, I said. Yes, he nodded. As co-owner, your authorization is required. Interesting, I said. He tilted his head slightly. How so? Because from what I've seen, I said a lot of things have been done without my full understanding already. There it was, the first crack. His smile faded just a little. I'm not sure what you mean, he said. I held his gaze. I think you do. Silence. Thick. Heavy. Then he laughed softly. Jacqueline, he said, I think there's been some misunderstanding. No, I replied. I think there's been manipulation. That word landed hard. His eyes sharpened. Careful, he said quietly. There it was. Not loud, not aggressive, but a warning. Olivia shifted beside me, nervous, caught in the middle. I'm not here to argue, I continued calmly. I'm here to understand exactly what's been done in my name, and I've already explained that, he said. Not to me, I replied. Another pause, longer this time. He studied me, then nodded slowly. All right, he said. Let's talk. But something in his tone had changed. The calm was still there, but underneath it there was pressure, urgency, and something else. Something I hadn't seen clearly before. Fear. Just for a second. But it was there. And that told me everything I needed to know. We weren't the only ones losing control of the situation. He was too. And that meant one thing. We were closer to the truth than he wanted us to be. We sat down in the living room, all three of us. But it didn't feel like a conversation. It felt like a negotiation. Daniel chose the chair across from me. Olivia sat beside him, but I noticed something different this time. She wasn't leaning toward him anymore. She was sitting straight, alert, listening. That alone told me things were already changing. So Daniel said calmly, folding his hands together. Let's calmly folding his hands together. Let's clear this up. Good, I replied. Let's start with the loan. His eyes flickered for a fraction of a second. Then he smiled again. Perfectly standard, he said. We leveraged the property to create additional liquidity. Clear this up. Good, I replied. Let's start with the loan. His eyes flickered for a fraction of a second. Then he smiled again. Perfectly standard, he said. We leveraged the property to create additional liquidity. Liquidity, I repeated. Is that what you call it when you take out a loan someone doesn't fully understand? His smile tightened. I believe everything was explained. Not to me, I said. And Olivia agreed, he added quickly. I turned to her. Did you understand the full amount? I asked. She hesitated. That was all it took. Daniel exhaled slowly. This is exactly what I was worried about, he said. Confusion, mistrust. This is what happens when too many people get involved in financial decisions. Too many people, meaning me. I'm not too many people, I said calmly. I'm legally tied to that property, and we've respected that, he replied. Every document was signed properly. Legally, maybe, I said. But ethically, I'm not too many people, I said calmly. Am legally tied to that property, and we've respected that, he replied. Every document was signed properly. Legally, maybe, I said. But ethically, silence. That word landed harder than I expected. Daniel leaned back slightly. I think we're drifting into emotional territory, he said. And that's not helpful right now. Of course, minimize, redirect. Control the tone. I had seen this pattern before. Let's stay practical then, I said. How much is owed on the loan? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced at Olivia, just for a second. But I caught it. That silent check. That unspoken signal. Olivia noticed it too, and this time she didn't look away. "Tell her," she said quietly. That shifted something. Daniel's jaw tightened slightly. "It's a temporary position," he said. "The market fluctuated and we had to adapt." "That's not what I asked," I replied. Another pause. Then he gave the number. And even though I already knew, hearing it out loud made it worse. Olivia inhaled sharply. "You told me it was lower," she said, turning to him. "It was at the time," he replied quickly. "Then we had to restructure." "You didn't tell me that," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was firm, and that was new. Daniel shifted in his seat. "I was going to," he said. "I didn't want to overwhelm you." Overwhelm. Always the same excuse. Always framed like concern. "You mean you didn't want her to question you?" I said. He looked at me sharply. "I'm trying to keep this situation under control," he said. "No," I replied. "You're trying to keep control." That hit hard. The room went quiet again, but this silence felt different. It wasn't tense. It was revealing. Because for the first time, Daniel didn't have an immediate answer. Olivia spoke before he could recover. "What happens if we don't get her signature?" she asked. He turned to her, and I watched his expression carefully. This was the moment, the real answer. "The bank proceeds with foreclosure," he said. "We lose the property." "And the loan?" she asked. "It becomes immediately due," he said. "Which means," she pressed. Another pause, longer this time. "Which means we would need to find another way to cover it," he said. "That's not an answer," she said. Her voice was shaking now, but she didn't stop. "What happens if we can't?" she asked. He didn't respond. And that silence said everything. I leaned forward slightly. "Say it," I said. He looked at me, then at Olivia, then finally said it. "We would be liable. Liable. Such a clean word. Such a cold word. But what it really meant was simple. Debt. Crushing, overwhelming debt." Olivia's face went pale. "You said this was safe," she whispered. "It was supposed to be," he replied quickly. "The market." "Stop blaming the market," I said. "This wasn't an accident," he snapped. "Just for a second." His voice sharpened. "You don't understand how these things work." "No," I said calmly. "I understand exactly how this works." He leaned forward. "And what exactly are you suggesting?" he asked. I held his gaze. "That you put both of us in a position where we carry the risk, while you control the decisions." "That's not true," he said immediately. "Then prove it," I replied. Silence, because he couldn't, because the structure spoke for itself. Olivia stood up suddenly. "I need some air," she said, and before either of us could respond, she walked out. The door closed behind her. And just like that, it was just me and him. Daniel leaned back in his chair slowly. The calm was gone now. Not completely, but enough. "You're making this worse," he said quietly. "No," I replied. "I'm making it visible." He stared at me, longer than before, then said something I hadn't expected. "You think you're helping her," he said, "but you're not." "Explain that," I said. "She chose this life," he said. "With me, not with you. That should have hurt. 3 years ago, it would have. But now it just sounded desperate." "She didn't choose this," I said. "She trusted you. That's the same thing, he replied. No, I said firmly, it's not. Another pause. Then he leaned forward again, lowering his voice. You don't know everything he said. That caught my attention. Then tell me, I said. He hesitated, and that hesitation. That was the second crack. There are things involved here, he said slowly, that you're not aware of. What things? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he stood up. This conversation isn't productive anymore, he said. And just like that, he tried to end it, control the exit. But this time, I didn't let him. No, I said. You don't get to walk away now. He stopped, turned back slowly, and for the first time since I met him, I saw it clearly. Not confidence, not control, but pressure. Real pressure. Because whatever he was hiding was getting closer to the surface, and he knew it. Daniel didn't sit back down. He stayed standing, like he needed the position, like sitting would mean losing something. You're pushing this too far, he said quietly. No, I replied. I'm finally asking the right questions. His eyes hardened. You think you figured everything out? He said. But you haven't. Then tell me what I'm missing, I said. He hesitated again. And this time, it wasn't subtle. It was obvious. There was something he didn't want to say. Something he couldn't say. Exactly, I said softly. That's what I thought. Before he could respond, the front door opened again. Olivia walked back in. Her face was different now, still shaken, still scared, but clearer, more focused. She closed the door slowly and looked between us. What aren't you telling us? She asked, straight to the point. No hesitation. Daniel's expression shifted. Not anger, not frustration, something closer to calculation again. Olivia. He said, his tone softening. This isn't the time to get emotional. I'm not emotional, she said. And for the first time, I heard strength in her voice. I'm asking a question, she continued. What aren't you telling us? He exhaled slowly. You're both overcomplicating this, he said. We have a solution. We just need Jacqueline's signature and everything stabilizes. There it is again, I said. The shortcut. It's not a shortcut, he snapped. It's the only way forward. No, I said calmly. It's the only way forward for you. Silence. Then Olivia stepped closer. Answer the question, she said. He looked at her, really looked at her this time, and something shifted. Because she wasn't backing down. Not anymore. The loan is tied to more than just the property, he said finally. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? Olivia asked. It means he paused, choosing his words carefully. There are additional obligations. Say it clearly, I said. His jaw clenched. There are other investments connected to it. Investments, Olivia repeated. What investments? He didn't answer right away. Which told me everything. You use the property as collateral, I said slowly, to fund something else. He didn't deny it. Daniel, Olivia said, her voice trembling now. What did you do? He ran a hand through his hair. For the first time, he looked stressed. Not controlled, not polished, just stressed. I was trying to grow our assets, he said, to build something bigger. At what risk? I asked. He didn't respond, because now. The truth was coming out, and it wasn't clean. It wasn't controlled. It was messy and dangerous. How much? Olivia asked. He looked at her, then looked away. How much? She repeated louder this time. Enough that we can't just walk away. It wasn't controlled. It was messy and dangerous. How much? Olivia asked. He looked at her, then looked away. How much? She repeated louder this time. Enough that we can't just walk away, he said. That sentence changed everything. Olivia took a step back, like the ground had just shifted beneath her. You said this was safe, she whispered. It was calculated, he corrected. That's not the same thing, I said. He ignored me, focused only on her. I did this for us, he said. For us, she repeated. You didn't even tell me I was protecting you, he insisted. From what? She asked. The stress, the complexity, or the truth, I cut in. He turned to me sharply. You need to stop interfering, he said. No, Olivia said suddenly. Both of us looked at her. No, she repeated stronger this time. She's not interfering. She's the only reason I even know what's happening right now. That hit him harder than anything I had said. Because it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from her. She's turning you against me, he said. Olivia shook her head slowly. No, she said. You did that yourself. Silence, heavy, unavoidable. Because that was the moment everything broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. You lied to me, she said. I didn't lie. You hid things, she corrected. That's the same thing. He opened his mouth, then stopped. Because there was no way around it. Not anymore. You said we were building a future, she continued. But all you did was put us deeper and deeper into something I don't even understand. I was handling it, he said. No, she said. You were controlling it. The same word I had used earlier. Now, coming from her. And this time, it landed differently. Because now, it was undeniable. Daniel took a step back, like he needed space, like he was losing control of the situation. You don't get it, he said. If we don't fix this, everything collapses. Then maybe it should, Olivia said. That was it. That was the line. The one he didn't expect. The one he couldn't control. You don't mean that, he said. Yes, I do, she replied. Her voice was shaking, but she didn't take it back. I'd rather lose the house, she said, than keep living like this. Silence, complete silence, because now the leverage was gone. The pressure, the urgency, the fear he had been using to control everything. It didn't work anymore. He looked at me, then at her, then back again. And for the first time since I met him, he didn't have a move. You're making a mistake. The fear he had been using to control everything. It didn't work anymore. He looked at me, then at her, then back again. And for the first time since I met him, he didn't have a move. You're making a mistake, he said finally. Maybe she replied. But at least it's my mistake. That was the moment I knew. We had crossed a point of no return. There was no going back to how things were. No pretending. No more silence. Only truth and consequences. And Daniel knew it too, because whatever he had built was starting to fall apart. After that moment, nothing felt the same. Not the house, not the conversation, not even the air between us. Daniel stood there quiet now, not arguing, not pushing, just watching, like he was recalculating everything. Olivia didn't look at him. She walked slowly to the kitchen table and sat down. I followed, but this time I didn't sit beside her. I sat across from her, because this wasn't just about support anymore. This was about clarity. "Tell me everything," I said. She nodded, no hesitation. Daniel let out a quiet breath behind us. "I don't think that's necessary," he said. Olivia didn't turn around. "Yes, it is," she replied. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. And that steadiness, that was new. "Olivia," he said, trying again, "you're making decisions in the heat of the moment." "No," she cut in. "I've been avoiding decisions for 3 years. This is the first real one I'm making." Silence. He didn't interrupt again. Because he couldn't. Because something had shifted in her, and he felt it. I leaned forward slightly. "Start from the beginning," I said gently. She took a deep breath and began. After we sold the first house, she said he handled everything. I didn't even see most of the paperwork. I nodded. Then he said we were upgrading. A better investment. A bigger opportunity. "And you trusted him," I said. She gave a small, bitter smile. "Every time." She continued. "At first, it felt normal. We moved into the new place. Everything looked fine. But then he started talking about expanding. Expanding how I asked. More properties. Short-term investments. Partnerships, she said. He said we could build something big if we moved fast." "Fast," I repeated. She nodded. "Always fast," she said. There was never time to sit down and really understand anything. Daniel shifted behind us. "Because that's how opportunity works," he said. "You either act or you miss it." Olivia turned slightly. "And how much did we lose by acting?" she asked. He didn't answer. She turned back to me. "That's when the loan started," she said. My chest tightened. "More than one?" I asked. She nodded. "Yes." That confirmed it. This wasn't just one bad decision. This was a chain, a system. "How many?" I asked. "I don't know exactly," she admitted. "But at least 3, maybe more." I felt a cold wave move through me, and all tied to the house I asked. Indirectly, she said. He used the equity over and over again. Recycled risk, layered debt, classic, dangerous. "And you didn't see any of this?" I asked. "I saw pieces," she said. "But never the full picture. Because he made sure of that." "Did you ever question him?" I asked. Her eyes flickered. "Yes," she said. "At first." "He made me feel like I didn't understand," she said. "Like I was slowing us down." That word again. Slowing. Like caution was a flaw. Like thinking was a weakness. "So you stopped asking?" I said. She nodded. I thought I was being supportive. "You were being controlled," I said gently. She didn't argue, because now she could see it too. Daniel finally spoke again. "You're rewriting history," he said. She agreed to everything. "No," Olivia said. "I went along with everything. That's not the same thing." That hit him. Again. Because she wasn't just questioning him anymore. She was redefining the past, and that took his control away. I leaned back slightly. "Do you have access to anything now?" I asked. She shook her head. "No accounts, no passwords, nothing." "And if you asked for them?" I pressed. She glanced toward him, then looked back at me. He said it wasn't necessary, she said. Of course he did. I exhaled slowly, because now the picture was complete. This wasn't just financial mismanagement. This was isolation, control, dependency, all built carefully over time. We need records, I said. Olivia nodded. I can try to get into some emails, she said. Maybe old ones. Do that, I said. Anything you can find? Daniel stepped closer. You're not seriously planning to dig through everything he said? Yes, I replied. That's going to make things worse, he said. For who, I asked. He didn't answer, because we both knew. For him. Daniel, Olivia said quietly. He looked at her. If you have nothing to hide, then this shouldn't be a problem, she said. Another silence. And this one was final, because there was no way around it anymore. No deflection, no redirection, only truth. I've been trying to fix this, he said finally. For us. At what cost, she asked. He didn't answer, because the cost was already visible. Debt, fear, isolation, loss. I stood up slowly, because now we were entering a different phase. Not confrontation, not discovery, but action. We're not signing anything, I said. Daniel looked at me, then at Olivia, waiting, hoping, but she didn't hesitate. No, she said. We're not. That was it. The final line, drawn clearly, no confusion, no doubt. And in that moment, whatever control he thought he still had was gone. The moment Olivia said no, everything became real. There was no going back. No pretending this was just a misunderstanding. No more, we'll fix it later. This was now. And it was serious. Daniel didn't argue anymore. That was the first thing that stood out to me. He didn't raise his voice, didn't push, didn't try to convince. He just went quiet. And that silence. It was louder than anything he had said before. I need to make a call, he said finally. Then he walked out of the room. Just like that. No explanation. No argument. Just gone. Olivia and I sat there frozen for a moment, listening to the faint sound of his voice in the other room. Low, controlled, but urgent. That doesn't feel right, she whispered. No, I said. It doesn't. I stood up slowly. We don't have time to wait, I added. For what? She asked. For whatever he's about to do next. That got her attention. You think he's going to do something? She asked. I don't know, I said honestly. But I know he just lost control of this situation. And that makes him dangerous, she said. Exactly. She was starting to see it, not just the past, but the present. Get your things, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. You mean now? Yes, I said firmly. Now. She hesitated for a second, then nodded. Okay. She stood up and walked quickly toward the bedroom. I followed, not because I didn't trust her, but because I didn't trust what might happen next. She grabbed a small suitcase from the closet. Her movements were rushed, unsteady, like she didn't fully believe this was happening. What do I take? She asked. Essentials, I said. Documents if you have them. She paused, then opened a drawer. Inside was a folder. Thin, too thin. This is all I have, she said quietly. I took it, flipped through it quickly. A few statements, some old documents. Nothing recent, nothing detailed. He kept everything else, she said. Of course he did. I handed it back. We'll work with what we have, I said. She nodded, stuffing it into her bag. Then she stopped. What if he comes back in? She asked. I looked at the door. Still quiet. Still no sign of him returning. Then we leave faster, I said. She gave a nervous laugh. But it didn't last. Because this wasn't funny. This was real. And it was happening now. We moved quickly. Clothes, toiletries, phone charger, basic things. But every second felt heavy, like we were racing against something we couldn't see. Then suddenly, his voice stopped from the other room. Silence. Complete silence. Olivia froze. He's done with the call, she whispered. I felt my pulse spike. Okay, I said quietly. Stay calm. Footsteps. Coming closer. We both turned toward the door. Daniel appeared in the hallway, and the look on his face, it wasn't panic. It wasn't anger. It was something worse. It was decision. You're leaving, he said. Not a question, a statement. Olivia tightened her grip on the suitcase. Yes, she said. He nodded slowly. I figured, he said. Too calm. Way too calm. That's probably for the best, he added. That caught me off guard. For the best, I repeated. Yes, he said. Things are complicated right now. Complicated. That word again. Always soft, always vague. What did you do on that call, I asked. He looked at me, and for a second, I saw it again. That crack, that pressure, just handling things, he said. Handling what Olivia asked. He didn't answer directly. Instead, he stepped into the room. You should go, he said to her. She frowned. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, you don't want to be here when this gets messy. My stomach dropped. Messy how, I asked. He didn't look at me. He looked at Olivia. There are people involved, he said. People who expect results. Results? Investors? I asked. He didn't deny it. They're not patient, he said. And what happens if they don't get what they want? Olivia asked. He hesitated, then said quietly, they start asking questions. Questions? That didn't sound like investors. That sounded like something else, something worse. I stepped forward slightly. Daniel, I said, my voice firm. What exactly did you get yourself into? He looked at me. Really looked at me. And for the first time, he didn't try to hide it. I made some aggressive moves, he said. That's not an answer, I replied. It's the only one you're getting, he said. Silence. But now it wasn't just tension. It was danger. Real danger. Olivia stepped closer to me. What do we do? She whispered. I didn't take my eyes off him. We leave. I said, now, not later. Not after one more conversation. Now! Daniel didn't stop us. That was the strangest part. He just stood there, watching. Like he had already accepted it. Or worse, like he knew something we didn't. Olivia, he said as she picked up her bag. She paused, just for a second. I never meant for it to go this far, he said. She didn't respond, because it didn't matter anymore. Intentions didn't erase consequences, and whatever he had built was already collapsing. We walked past him, out of the room, down the hallway. Every step felt heavy, but necessary. And just as we reached the door, he said one last thing. They're not going to let this go. I stopped, turned slightly. What does that mean? I asked. But he didn't answer. He just looked at me. And that look said everything. This wasn't over, not even close. The drive back to my house felt longer than it should have. Neither of us spoke for the first 10 minutes. Olivia sat in the passenger seat staring out the window like she was trying to process everything all at once. And I didn't push her, because I knew that feeling. When your entire reality shifts, words don't come easily. You think he was telling the truth, she finally asked? About what I said? The people he mentioned, she said. The ones who won't let this go. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. I think he told just enough truth to scare us, I said. And the rest, she asked. The rest he's still hiding. She nodded slowly. That's what scares me, she whispered. Me too. But I didn't say that, because right now she needed stability, not more fear. We're going to handle this step by step, I said. No more guessing. She let out a quiet breath. Okay. When we got to my house, everything felt different, safer, quieter, but also heavier. Because now the situation had followed us home. I made her sit down at the kitchen table, the same table where I had spread out those documents the night before. Only now it wasn't just paperwork. It was our reality. I'm calling a lawyer, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. A real one, I added, not someone connected to Daniel. She nodded. Good. I picked up my phone and called an old contact. Thomas Green, a lawyer I had worked with years ago when settling Michael's estate. Trustworthy. Careful. Not easily impressed. He answered on the second ring. Jacqueline. It's been a while. It has, I said, and I wish I was calling under better circumstances. That got his attention. What's going on? I didn't sugarcoat it. I told him everything. The property, the loan, the signatures, the missing information, and most importantly, the control. He listened without interrupting, which was exactly why I trusted him. When I finished, there was a pause. Then he said one word. All right, not panic. Not surprise, just focus. I'm going to need copies of everything, he said. You'll have them, I replied. And Jacqueline? He added. Yes, don't sign anything, he said firmly. I glanced at Olivia. We won't, I said. Good, he replied, because from what you're describing, this isn't just bad judgment. My chest tightened. What is it? I asked. It could be fraud, he said. The word landed hard. Olivia froze beside me. Fraud, she repeated. Yes, he said. If signatures were obtained under misleading conditions, or if financial structures were intentionally concealed. That's a serious issue. Serious? That was one way to put it. What do we do? I asked. I'll review everything first, he said. Then we decide how to proceed. Is the house already lost? Olivia asked, her voice small. There was a pause. Not necessarily, he said, but we need to move carefully. Carefully, not quickly. That mattered. We'll do it right, I said. Good, he replied. Send me the documents. I'll get started immediately. We hung up. The silence that followed felt different. Less chaotic. More directed. Fraud. Olivia whispered again. I looked at her. It's a possibility, I said. Not a conclusion. But if it is, she said, then he's in a lot more trouble than he realizes. She stared at the table. Processing. Then slowly she nodded. Okay, she said. Then we do this properly. That was the second shift. The first was when she said no to him. The second was when she chose to face the consequences. Head on. We spent the next hour gathering everything we had. Emails, messages, old statements, anything that could help build a timeline. And the more we looked, the clearer the pattern became. Dates that didn't match, amounts that changed, decisions that happened without discussion. This wasn't random, Olivia said at one point. No, I agreed. It was planned. She leaned back in her chair. I feel stupid, she admitted. You're not, I said immediately. You're not, I said immediately. I should have seen it, she said. Maybe I said, but you trusted someone you loved. That's not stupidity. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. I hurt you, she said softly. That caught me off guard. This isn't about me, I should have seen it, she said. Maybe I said, but you trusted someone you loved. That's not stupidity. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. I hurt you, she said softly. That caught me off guard. This isn't about me, I said. Yes, it is, she said. I shut you out. I chose him over you. I held her gaze, because this mattered. You didn't choose him over me, I said. You chose what you thought was your future. She shook her head, and I lost everything. No, I said firmly. You didn't lose everything. She looked confused. Then what do I still have? She asked. I reached across the table, took her hand. You came back, I said. Her expression broke, because she understood. That was the one thing Daniel couldn't take, the one thing he couldn't control. Connection, trust, family. And now, we were building that back, piece by piece. Suddenly my phone buzzed. A message, unknown number. I frowned slightly. What is it? Olivia asked. I don't know, I said, opening it. The message was short, simple, and cold. Sign the papers. Or it gets worse. My stomach dropped. I showed it to her. Her face went pale instantly. That's not from him, she whispered. No, I said. It's not, because Daniel didn't need to threaten anymore. Someone else was doing it for him, and that meant one thing. This situation was bigger than we thought. I read the message again. Sign the papers, or it gets worse. No name, no number I recognized, just a threat. Cold, direct, final. Olivia's hands started shaking. They know your number, she whispered. I nodded slowly, which means they've been watching more closely than we thought. She looked at me, fear rising fast now. What if they come here? She asked. I didn't answer immediately, because the truth, I had already thought about that. They won't come here, I said finally. You don't know that, she said. No, I admitted. But if they wanted to scare us physically, they would have already done it. That didn't comfort her, but it grounded the situation. This wasn't random. It was pressure, calculated pressure. They want the signature? I continued. Nothing else matters to them right now. She swallowed hard. So are leverage too, she said. That word again. Leverage. Right now, yes, I said. But that doesn't last if we take control of the situation. How, she asked. By not reacting emotionally, I said. And by bringing in people who know how to handle this. Right now, yes, I said. But that doesn't last if we take control of the situation. How? She asked. By not reacting emotionally, I said, and by bringing in people who know how to handle this, like the lawyer, she said. Exactly. She nodded slowly, but I could still see it in her face. The fear wasn't gone. It was just contained. Should we call the police? She asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Not yet, I said. Her eyes widened. Why not? Because we don't have enough, I explained. Right now, it's just a message. No identity, no proof of intent beyond pressure. That feels like enough to me, she said. I know, I said gently. But if we go too early, we risk losing the bigger picture. She exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. I hate this, she said. I know, I replied. We sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of everything pressing down on us. Then suddenly, my phone buzzed again. Another message. Same number. This time, just 3 words. Time is running. Olivia gasped softly. This is insane, she whispered. I stared at the screen, not panicking, not reacting, just observing, because something about this didn't feel random. It felt structured, controlled, like whoever was behind this had done it before. Okay, I said finally. We need to move faster. Faster how? She asked. We send everything to Thomas, I said. Right now. She nodded immediately. We gathered every document, every screenshot, every email. I scanned what I could, forwarded everything. No delays, no hesitation. Within minutes, it was done. And just as I set my phone down, we gathered every document, every screenshot, every email. I scanned what I could, forwarded everything. No delays, no hesitation. Within minutes, it was done. And just as I set my phone down, it rang. Thomas. I answered immediately. I just saw the message you forwarded, he said. His tone had changed, sharper, more urgent. What do you think? I asked. I think you need to take this seriously, he said. We are, I replied. No, he said. I mean, seriously. My stomach tightened. Explain. If there are external parties applying pressure, he said, this isn't just a financial issue anymore. This could involve illegal lending, coercion, or worse. Olivia leaned closer, listening. What do we do? I asked. First, he said, you document everything, every message, every call. No exceptions. Done, I said. Second, he continued, you do not engage with them. No replies. No negotiation. Understood. And third, he said, we escalate this legally. That word hit differently. Escalate, meaning I asked. I'm preparing a formal response, he said. And if necessary, we involve law enforcement. Olivia exhaled sharply. So we are calling the police, she said quietly. If it reaches that point, he replied. Yes, I nodded. Okay. There was a pause. Then he added something that changed everything. Jacqueline, I also found something in the documents you sent. My chest tightened. What? There's a secondary entity listed in one of the agreements, he said. Entity, I repeated. Yes, he said. A company. Not in Olivia's name. Not in yours. I felt a chill run down my spine. Whose name? I asked. Another pause. Then Daniel's. Olivia froze. What? She whispered. And it's not just a shell, Thomas continued. It's active. It's been receiving funds tied to these transactions. My grip tightened on the phone. He moved money, I said slowly. Yes. Thomas confirmed. And not in a way that's transparent. That was it. The missing piece. The thing we couldn't see before. He wasn't just risking the house, I said. No. Thomas replied. He was using it. Using it. Using her. Using me. Using everything. To build something separate, I said. Exactly. I looked at Olivia. Her face had gone completely pale. He built a second life, she whispered. Not just financially, but structurally. A hidden system. And we were just part of it. What happens now? I asked. We move carefully, Thomas said. But we move firmly. I nodded, because now there was no doubt, no confusion, no gray area. This wasn't just manipulation. This wasn't just bad decisions. This was intentional, calculated, and possibly illegal. I hung up the phone slowly. Olivia looked at me. Tell me, she said. I took a breath, then said the words I knew would change everything. He wasn't trying to save your future, I said. She stared at me. He was building one without you. He was building one without you. The words stayed in the air between us, heavy, final. Olivia didn't react right away. She just sat there staring at nothing, like her mind was trying to catch up to something her heart already understood. A second life, she whispered. I didn't correct her, because that's exactly what it was. Not just hidden money, not just secret accounts, a whole structure, a version of reality where she didn't exist the way she thought she did. Why? She asked quietly. That question, that simple, painful question. I took a breath. Because control only works when one person sees the whole picture, I said, and the other person doesn't. She nodded slowly. And I was the one who didn't, she said. Yes, no point softening it now. Truth was the only thing that mattered. Her eyes filled with tears. But this time, she didn't break. She held them there, contained, like she was finally choosing strength over denial. What happens next? She asked. Before I could answer, there was a knock on the door. Sharp, unexpected. Both of us froze. My heart started pounding instantly. That's too soon, Olivia whispered. I stood up slowly. Every instinct in my body was on alert now. Stay here, I said. No, she said immediately, standing up too. I'm not hiding anymore. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I saw it fully. Not fear, not confusion, but resolve. She had changed. Completely. Okay, I said quietly. We walked to the door together, step by step, careful, measured. Another knock, louder this time. I reached for the handle, opened it. 2 men stood outside. Suits, neutral expressions, not aggressive, but not friendly either. Jacqueline Morris, one of them asked. Yes. He nodded slightly. I'm Agent Carter. This is Agent Ruiz. That word hit immediately. Agent, not investor, not collector. Something else entirely. We'd like to ask you a few questions, he said. Olivia stepped closer behind me. About what I asked. Daniel Brooks, he said. Everything clicked. right there, in that moment. "Come in," I said. They stepped inside, calm, professional, controlled. But their presence alone changed the entire atmosphere of the room. "Are you aware of an ongoing financial investigation involving Mr. Brooks?" Agent Carter asked. I glanced at Olivia, then back at him. "We suspected something was wrong," I said carefully. He nodded. "That's why we're here," he said. Agent Ruiz stepped forward slightly. "We've been tracking a series of transactions connected to multiple shell companies," he said. "Funds moving through properties loans, layered accounts. Exactly what Thomas had found, only bigger. Much bigger." "And the house?" Olivia asked quietly. "It's part of it," Agent Carter said. "But not the whole picture." Of course it wasn't. It never was. "How bad is it?" I asked. They exchanged a glance. Then significant, he said. "That word again. Always understated. Always heavier than it sounds." Olivia took a shaky breath. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. Agent Carter looked at her. Carefully. "No," he said. "Not if you cooperate." That was the moment everything shifted again, from fear to clarity. "What do you need?" I asked. "Everything," he said. "Documents, messages, anything you've received." I picked up my phone, showed him the messages. His expression didn't change, but I could tell. This confirmed something for him. "You did the right thing by not responding," he said. I nodded. "We were advised not to." "Good advice," he said. Agent Ruiz looked at Olivia. "Did you sign any documents under pressure?" he asked. She hesitated. Then, "Yes." "Did you fully understand them at the time?" he asked. "No," she said. He nodded slightly. "That matters," he said. Of course it did. Everything mattered now. Every detail, every decision, every moment we thought didn't matter, now did. "What happens to him?" Olivia asked. Her voice was quiet, but steady. Agent Carter didn't answer immediately. "Right now," he said, "he's part of an active investigation." "And later?" she pressed. He looked at her. "He'll be held accountable," he said. Simple, clear, final. She closed her eyes briefly, not out of relief, but out of acceptance. Because this wasn't just the end of a problem. It was the end of a life she thought she had, and the beginning of something else. Something uncertain, but real. The agents stayed for another hour, collecting information, asking questions, building their case. And when they finally left, the house felt different. Not lighter, but clearer, like a storm had passed. And now we could finally see what was left. Olivia sat down slowly, exhausted, emotionally drained, but not broken. "I don't know what my life looks like after this," she said. I sat beside her. "You don't need to," I said. She looked at me. "Why not?" "Because, for the first time, I said you're actually in control of it." She let that sink in. And then, for the first time since this all began, she smiled. Small, soft, but real. "I think I can live with that," she said. I squeezed her hand gently. "You're going to do more than live with it," I said. "You're going to rebuild it. And this time, it would be hers." After everything Jacqueline and Olivia went through, one truth became painfully clear. Trust without awareness can become a quiet trap. Love should never require blindness, and partnership should never mean surrendering your voice. Jacqueline didn't just save her daughter from losing a house. She helped her reclaim her agency, her clarity, and her dignity. And Olivia learned something even more powerful. It's never too late to step back, ask questions, and choose yourself again. Sometimes the hardest truth to face is not that someone deceived you, but that you ignored the signs because you wanted to believe in them. And that's something so many of us can relate to, especially in family. If you've ever been in a situation where you felt controlled, confused, or shut out, I want to hear your story. Where are you watching from? What would you have done in Olivia's place? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice might help someone else feel less alone.